Welcome to the National Institute for Health and Care Research and this professional development webinar series. I'm Julie Haddock-Millar and I'm one of the programme facilitators. In this session, we're going to look at developing an effective mentoring relationship, and it will be no longer than 10 minutes. So the agenda for this recording: first, we're going to explore the factors that influence an effective mentoring relationship, and we'll explore each of those in turn. I'm also going to provide some reflective questions to take away and some links to materials and references that are also contained in the topic guide that accompanies this session. I'd like to start by distinguishing mentoring relationships from other developmental relationships, such as coaching or the role of the line manager. Typically, mentoring relationships are long-term, 12 months or more, and often have a broad remit that can relate to both personal and professional development. Typically, mentors will have contextual knowledge that is relevant and useful to the mentee. Coaching relationships are often short-term. Coaches sometimes work with coachees for 3 to 6 coaching sessions. That might be over a short-term period, such as 1 to 2 or even 3 months in duration. On this slide, I've given you an example of a coaching program with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. Their coaching program that was introduced during COVID was 3 hours, where coachees received 3 sessions of coaching specific to their needs at the time. Sometimes you might hear mentoring referred to as coaching plus. And what we mean by that is that mentors and coaches will often draw from the same skill set, the same competencies. What distinguishes mentoring from coaching is mentors will often have the contextual knowledge of the role, the organisation, the sector. If we look at the role of line managers will often apply and adopt mentoring and coaching techniques in their management style. However, one of the challenges with the line manager is often there's a power dynamic that can influence the relationship. In mentoring, we try to minimize that power dynamic. So it's a relationship of equals in many programs. Now, this slide, we've listed here what we mean by an effective or successful mentoring relationship. And these are examples that have been shared by mentees and mentors over many mentoring programs and their evaluation. So just to give you 1 or 2 examples here, typically mentees and mentors will say, I feel satisfied at the end of the relationship. I've had a positive experience. I've developed new insights and learning. I feel valued and appreciated. So the word effective or successful means different things to different people, depending on their own perceptions of what mentoring is and what they hope to gain from the mentoring relationship. Now, with this slide, this visual was created by Professor David Klassenberg and colleagues based on many years of mentoring program evaluation. And it demonstrates what mentees and mentors describe as the most effective mentoring relationships. Now, the horizontal axis, we see rapport from low to high, and the vertical, we see clarity of purpose, again, low to high. For the most effective and successful mentoring relationships, we're typically working in the top right-hand box, where there's a high degree of rapport, high clarity of purpose, shared expectations. There's a real momentum and energy to the relationship. If we're working in any of the other quadrants, the relationship typically is less effective. So top left, where there's low rapport, we tend to be task focused. Bottom left, low rapport, low clarity purpose, it can feel like we're going through the motions. And the bottom right-hand side, we might have fantastic rapport, really high rapport, but we really lack a purpose for the mentoring relationship. But we've developed a great professional friendship, but it lacks direction. So what Professor David Clutterbuck and colleagues suggest is that working in the top right-hand side is where we have and we see the most effective and successful mentoring relationships. Just to touch on a few of those points raised in the previous slide. So rapport, it is often the first step in creating a successful mentoring relationship. And so therefore, it's worth spending time at the beginning of the relationship, getting to know one another, understanding each other. What's brought you here to the programme? Rapport is comprised of 5 elements: building trust in the mentoring relationship, focusing, really being present in those mentoring sessions, showing empathy. We don't always agree with others' points of view, but empathizing, congruence, alignment about what mentoring is and what is it not, empowerment, that mentoring is liberating, it's freeing. We're not imposing any power constraints, or as mentors, you're not presenting your agenda in that sense. It's working in service of the mentee and the mentee's agenda. So trust, having confidence in the agreement that's been made and the nature of the mentoring relationship. Focus, being fully attentive, being fully present at all times in the mentoring sessions. Empathy, genuinely understanding each other's perspectives, showing care and consideration. Alignment, congruence, the understanding of the purpose of the programme, the purpose of the mentoring relationship, those shared expectations. Empowerment, the relationship should feel free and not constrained. The mentee is able to flourish, develop their potential. Purpose and direction, another element we saw in the visual. Gaining clarity about what the mentee and the mentor hope to achieve from the relationship, from the programme, how to navigate your time together. And there's some questions here that I've provided, which are taken from the topic guide, that give some examples of the questions that you might ask early on in the mentoring relationship and throughout as it's progressing to help provide that purpose and direction. So what next? So reflecting on the areas discussed. For you, what does positive rapport look like? How can you develop this in your mentoring relationship? How can you work towards establishing purpose and direction? And what does a successful mentoring relationship mean for you? There is a topic guide that accompanies this session, and within the topic guide, there are some links to further reading, and I've provided some examples on this slide that are contained in the topic guide. Thanks so much for listening, and the email, as always, for the development support team for the mentoring programme, should you have any questions at all. Thank you.